Computer. All right, welcome back, everybody. If you've been here before, if you haven't been here before, welcome. This is Civil Chat. This is your chance to ask us questions and we answer them. We prefer things beyond the civil engineering, civil 3D topic area, but you can ask anything you want. We just might ignore you. Few housekeeping things. The chat is open, so feel free to chat with folks in the chat. Make fun of us, point out things, make comments. It's all good. Just stay civil. And but if you have a question, which is what this is all about, we want you to ask us questions. Please put that into the Q&A panel. If you put it in the Q&A panel, it's more likely that it will get answered because we can keep track of what questions have been asked and it's separate from the chat because the chat goes flying by and all that fun stuff. So please put your questions in the Q&A and leave the chat for, well, chatting. Did I miss anything? Oh, yeah. If you don't ask us questions, we don't have anything to talk about. And we'll just like have Brian turn on his webcam and just look
Oh,
at the scenery.
not this
I,
Brian. The
I
other
don't think I don't think the family would be appreciate, me broadcasting all of them in swimsuits. So,
That's a good point.
but
Good
I
point.
did put a shirt on in case you were going to put me on the spot.
Brian.
So Brian is out on a houseboat right now on Lake Shasta in California. Did I get that right?
That is correct.
Awesome.
Oh, I'm dying. How much water's there?
It's actually not too bad. It's not as full as it has been the last couple of years, but it's better than it was when I used to first start coming here when I met my wife. So it's
I
it's
have
it's about where I would. It's actually higher than I would expect it to be for August.
I
I
have
I could do without the 107-degree weather here, but
I got some great fond memories of Lake Shasta and houseboat renting. It's the first
Nice.
first time I beached a jet ski by accident.
okay, and you can tell we're talking about beaching jet skis because there are no questions. Just pointing that out. The bigger
Uh,
question was that before everybody had smartphones and they could record you so you're in some viral video?
this was before flip phones were a thing.
Okay, so no
Nice.
viral
Okay.
video of Tomasi
Yeah,
beaching a jet ski. Got it.
no, no. 1993, I think it was, or something like that, 92. So there might have been flip phones, but all you're going to be able to do is have to hit the same button 3 times to get to the letter you want to do any
Right.
text.
Yep. Okay, so I always like to start off by showing off something. And in this case, I had somebody come to me and say, hey, we got this data in this drawing and we need a label. And I don't know if I should make it into points, Kogo points, or just type in the text next to it. And so they sent me the drawing and I got to looking at it. And so they want to label this thing right here. And I was like, okay, what do we have? So I decided to go ahead and double click on it. And lo and behold, this is just an AutoCAD point. All right. And I'm like thinking to myself, I was like, what can you do with an AutoCAD point? There's no data. And then I went into the properties for it. And this came from GIS.
Yep,
And so this has all sorts of object data associated with it. Now,
absolutely.
right now, I'm not exactly sure which piece of data they want to label this with, so I'm just going to assume they want to label it with the ID. All right. Now, each one of these has a data associated with it. How do I get the data into here? Well, that's where the fact that Civil 3D is built on top of Map 3D comes into play. So if you weren't aware, Civil 3D has Map 3D built into it. So you have almost all the functionality of Map 3D. I think some of the industry models aren't available in Civil 3D, but pretty much everything in Map 3D is available in Civil 3D. You just got to know where to look for it. So if I come up here to the workspace where it says Civil 3D, I can change this to the planning and analysis workspace. All right. And this is where you get access to all of the map tools. Now, map has the ability to place annotation on objects that have this object data. And again, the object data came from a GIS system somewhere, either from importing a shape file or exporting out of another GIS program, something along those lines. And so I'm going to come over here to the Annotate tab. And what we need to do first is we need to define a template. So the template says, this is how I want it to be labeled. This is how I want the label to look. And this is the data that I want it to label. So I need to define a template. And once the template is defined, I can then insert that template onto the objects inside of the drawing. So I'm going to go ahead and define the template here. Right? This particular drawing doesn't have any templates. So I'm simply going to create a new template, right? We'll give it a name. We'll call this one feature ID. Select OK. And it brings up the block editor. And this is where you go through and you create the annotation template. It's just a block that has map annotation text inside of it. You can put other things in there as well, but the key is that map annotation text. Now, if we were using Map 3D and not Civil 3D, up here on the ribbon, there would be a button to insert map annotation text. But for some reason, the Civil 3D folks thought, Civil 3D users don't need that. We're not going to put it up there. So you have to type it. So the command is map and text. So this allows you to place in that map annotation text, right? So I'm going to go ahead and do that. Now, what it's going to do first is going to ask you what annotation do you want to convert into this map annotation text? Well, I don't have any in here. So I'm just going to hit enter and it allows me to create it. So you can see this is very similar to an attribute in a block. So it's asking for a tag. So I'm just going to give the tag the ID. And then in the value, I can hit this button over here to the right, and I can pick up on properties of whatever it is I'm labeling. Right? So I can pick up on the properties of the object, or I can pick up on the attributes of the block, or things like that. But in this case, I'm interested in this object data, because that's where that feature ID, that ID is. So I'm just going to choose that as the thing. Now remember, if you don't see object data, then this really doesn't do you a whole lot of good. I suppose you could label the annotation, the attributes of a block, but why not just use the attributes of the block? Anyways, right? So I'm going to choose that one, and you can see it places it up here. And then you can put in all this other information. Now, as best I can tell, the map annotation stuff does not respond to the drawing scale. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to just manually set the height here. So I want this to be 4 units tall in the drawing. Select OK. And then I'm going to insert this wherever I want it to be within the block editor. So I'm just going to insert it at the insertion point at 0, 0. So I just type 0, 0. For whatever reason, we're zoomed way out. So if I zoom extents, you can see there is the text now. And if I wanted to, I could add additional text features in here, add them above, below, whatever I want. In this example, I'm just going to do the 1, just so you can see how it's done. And if anybody's interested, I can show you how to add that map attribute, the map annotation text button to this ribbon. If anybody's interested, you can put that in the Q&A, say, hey, Brian, how do you add it? You get the idea. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and close. I'll go ahead and save that. And we're good to go. So I'll go ahead and hit OK here.
So while you're in there, you had a follow-up from Christopher. Can that see property set data too, or just object data?
I believe it's just object data. I don't think it can see property set data, because property set data is a Civil 3D thing, and this is a Map 3D tool. But I'm not positive on that. Right. But that's a great question. Perhaps we can investigate that. So now that I've got the template defined, I can come over here and insert the template. So I'll choose insert. I'll choose the template that I want to use. So I'll toggle on that feature ID. And then I've got some options here. So, I can choose different places that I want to label it. This is like important if you're, like the centroid would be like if you're labeling a parcel or something like that. I'm just going to leave it all set to the defaults here. Choose insert. And then I can select those objects, hit enter, and it labels them for me. And there it is. And if I need to, I can adjust those around. But I have the text in there based off of the value on that particular AutoCAD point, which is just object data. Now, there are some other options up here, and I haven't really played around with these. I figured I could just go ahead and try it live. Why not? There's an option here to refresh the annotation. So let's see what that is. Let's see if this moves them back to where they were. So if I choose the feature ID and I choose OK, full annotation, yep, sets them back to where they were. There was also one in here where you could reposition it, define the text location. I'm not sure what this one was. Select an object. And I want it to go, not sure what's going on. Pick a new location for the text. There. It doesn't seem to be doing anything. What if I refresh now? No, doesn't seem to do it. I was hoping it would. What was this one? This one was update annotation. I'm not sure what the refresh versus update is. And then if you want to, you can delete them all. So if I'm like, oh, I really don't like these, I can just come in here and delete all the labels that were created from that feature ID. And now they're all gone. Now I'm going to undo that real quick. I can also just erase them. And I just found this out earlier. So if I erase them, and then I decide, you know what, I don't like that template. I want to get rid of it, that annotation template. I can come in here to the feature ID and then delete that template. And you'll get a notice that, hey, it can't because it's being used. What's it being used by? Well, nothing, but it's being used. So if I come in here and I then delete the annotation, just like I did earlier, and now when I go in, I can then delete that annotation template if I want to. So like I said, it's just something I kind of, the question came up here in the office and I thought it would be a good thing to share with everybody because you might find yourself running into that situation. So
now you're showing this in 27. Is it only viable in 27 or is it there? You did have to type in your map anno, whatever that command was. Is it only 27 or is it in previous releases as well?
That's a good question. I don't know. I haven't tried it in the previous releases, but I believe you have to type it.
Yeah, I know a lot of the map functions are available in previous releases. Matter of fact, we were just looking for this and we were in 2025 doing the similar thing, but we were actually wanting to use the data to populate our structures with inverts. So, because, you get a lot of that stuff from the GIS. And that was that was Max's question.
So if anyone has 26, 5, or 4 open there, feel free to type in that command and see if it's there for Max.
So the commands should be there. So this functionality has been around since like release 14. Right. So I know the command, the tools will work there. It's just whether or not that command is on the ribbon is the question.
Yeah.
And then Adam posted a follow-up to Christopher's property set data 2 question in the chat. Says you can't use the map tools for property set data, but you can use the PSD editor to create some label styles similar to map annotations. It's more difficult since it's not documented. And here's an old tutorial. So for those of you all listening live, you can click on that link in the chat.
For anybody that's not watching live, you can.
So there was some other questions. I don't know if we want to proceed with those right now, or we good on this? Because Max asked do we work with reference templates? And if so, are there any issues with working them? They seem to be having an issue with the label styles that we're working around, but it'd like to avoid any other foreseen issues before rolling it out. I'll be honest, I do not utilize reference templates at all.
We actually have a project where we're considering using them for the first time. So, there's some caveats to be aware of with them. And I can show that off. So let me go ahead and create a new drawing. So we can discuss real quick how these work. We'll just do this. So I'm going to open up a drawing with no template. So this is like, again, the most basic drawing you can get in AutoCAD for the most part. We'll change this back to the Civil 3D workspace, and we'll go ahead and save this. Let's see, let's just save it here. Reference. Voila. All right. Don't show me this again. Thank you. Okay, so to bring in a reference template, so you would go to the Manage tab up on the ribbon. And then we have under Styles, Reference. So before I do this, I just want everybody to see if I go surface, surface styles, you can see all we have here is standard. So I'm going to go ahead and reference in a template. So I'll go ahead and hit the plus, browse to, I'll just use our company template for now. So you can support Civil 3D 2026 templates. And that needs to be changed to template. Of course, now it's going to take me back to there.
You got to go all the way back. Sorry, buddy.
So annoying.
Right? Why can't it just
And
be right where we left it?
I get it, but if I'm browsing and then I change it,
Yeah.
leave me. If I haven't browsed and I change it, then take
Uh, frustrations years around.
me. Okay, so as you're attaching the reference, you can choose what information you want to reference in. All right, let me go ahead and make this a bit bigger. So for example, maybe from this template, all I'm interested in are the surfaces. So I can uncheck everything. So kind of let me uncheck it. And then apparently, oh, can't uncheck everything. There's probably like, the settings are probably controlling things. Yeah, so like for example, this is probably a default style in a setting somewhere. So you probably can't undo it. But you can pick and choose what you want. You can go to the settings and is that cough?
There it is.
Been
Yeah, you said
struggling for a while with this. So this cough will go on for like 5-10 minutes and then it'll disappear. It's bizarre. So I apologize, but there's not a whole lot I can do with that.
it.
But anyways, you can choose to whether or not you want to bring in the drawing settings, the feature settings. You can bring in the AutoCAD layers as well. So if you change a layer in the template, it will change in this drawing. All right. Other resources, blocks, text styles, line types. What else do we have here? Property sets. Man, we mentioned property sets before. It's not something I've used a whole lot as property sets, but you can bring those in as well. You can also bring in additional templates. So if you also want to bring reference in the default Civil 3D template, you can do that as well. I'm not going to do that right here, but I'll just go ahead and select OK. And after a moment, you can see we now have all these styles in our drawing, right? So you'll notice a little blue paperclip next to it means that particular file is referenced in. If I go into my layers, I have all my layers referenced in too. So these aren't just the layers that came from the styles. These are also the layers that came from that template that weren't being used in a style. If I go into my drawing settings, my feature settings, those are all referenced in too. If I decide, hey, for this particular drawing, I need to change something on, let's do the design contours, right? So I'm just going to edit this. Maybe I want to put the contours on a different layer or force a color on. And I'll just do that. I'll be a bad drafter and force a color on something here. All right, maybe I want to make these like a dark red or dark purple.
You'll be getting an email promptly from HR.
Right. So if I'm trying to edit a reference style, and as soon as I hit OK, I get this little dialog box that's saying, hey, wait a minute. You can't edit this. It's being referenced in. What do you want to do? So there's three options. One, you can cancel and say, ooh, I shouldn't have been doing that. Let me cancel out of that and go back the way it was. The other option is to make a local copy of the style with a different name, and then you can use that, which is probably what you should do. The other option is to apply the edits for just this drawing session. So the next time you open up the drawing, the style is going to revert back to the way it was in the template. If you notice, there's no option for change the style in the template. There's no option for just override it always for this drawing. So you can either create a copy or not. There's really your only options. So I do like this because, a lot of times it's like, oh, I just need to see the border of the surface. Go edit the style, turn the border on, and then you don't have to worry about it because it's just going to revert back the way it was before, even though you really should just change the style that the surface is using, right? So I'll go ahead and make a local copy, and you can see it now has a new style here, and it puts the copy at the end. And it is not referenced in, so you're good to go. Now, if I decide, hey, I don't want to reference this anymore, right? You can just choose that, remove the reference, and all those styles eventually.
Should go away.
Did it not work? Oh, I didn't hit OK. Hit the X. There you go. They all go away. But my copy remains. And any styles that were being used remain.
Remain.
So that's kind of how a reference template works. Now, I'm really curious if folks have experience with reference templates and um, have any thoughts on them. Good, bad, indifferent. Oh, I don't really care about indifference.
Mm.
Christopher and Robert both had comments in the chat on that. Christopher says he uses reference templates for the sole purpose of managing property set definitions and associated value styles, value lists, and table styles.
Oh, okay. Excellent.
And then Robert said, be careful with circular reference templates are possible when using a template to start a drawing.
Circular reference templates.
Like if you use the same template that you're referencing in to create the drawing. I mean, that would be kind of ideal though, right? But the whole objective is to not bring in the kitchen sink. And that's the nicety behind the reference template.
Right. So I'm not sure how to get a circular reference with with this. Can you reference it? So circular reference would be like A is referencing B and B is referencing A, right? Can you reference a template that's referencing? I don't know. That's something to be aware of. Now, where would I use a reference template? Now, I wouldn't. So the GEI template that we have here does not have any sort of a reference template assigned to it because it shouldn't, because I don't want to make a change to a style and have it update in all the drawings across the company. And then people were like, but it moved, and now the reviewer says it might work as bad, right? And I don't want that. Where I see a reference template being used is for a project, specifically for a project. So you can create a template for this project and then create a template that has the reference template referenced into it. And then any drawings that you create for this project start with a project template, which has the reference template referenced into it. And that way, if the reviewing agency comes back and says, oh, your text height in this label style is too big, you change it in the reference template and it changes in all of your drawings, which is what you want because it's no longer meeting the standards and you need to change it everywhere. So that's kind of why we're looking at this for that project, is because it's a client-driven standards. So it's not a GEI standard, it's a client-driven, and we have to create the standards. And so they might come back and say, oh, you did this wrong. It really should be this. And if we have that style in hundreds of drawings, that would be a pain in the ass. Whereas if it's a reference template, we can just change in the reference template, and then it changes in all of our drawings. So that's kind of my thoughts on reference templates.
Somebody wrote in there about the pipe networks for custom parts. I thought, for me, I thought the reference template itself was just mainly the all style-based driven and not necessarily the part catalog being pulled over.
It wouldn't be the catalog.
Yeah, that's where I was thinking the custom parts. If you
But it
make
would be the styles.
yes, it would just be the styles, not the parts themselves, because yeah,
Yeah.
we've been having fun with that as well, custom catalogs and getting them through the company. That's always fun.
I hate pipe. I hate part builder.
I'm
I think I
sorry,
might have
what?
said that once or twice in this thing.
Max says it would be the parts list as well. Curious.
Yes, it would be the parts list. The parts list would be part of the reference template. At least it should be. We can go double check. Let's go reattach that template.
Yeah, I can see it being the parts list, but you had specialty parts made from the part builder themselves.
Those would be
Like,
in the catalog.
yeah, from the catalog. Then
Mhm.
that may be problematic because if that's part of
Yeah,
the reference template and it's referencing your part catalog and nobody else has that part catalog, then you may not get what y'all you need.
right. So it does do parts lists, but I highly doubt it does the catalog.
Yeah.
I'm like, I wouldn't bet my life on it, but maybe my wife's. She hates it when I say that.
So we have another question if we're good with this one.
Yeah, I think so.
Uh, individual says they missed many civil chats. That's okay.
How
But
dare you?
yeah, exactly. We've kind of touched on the capabilities of Autodesk Assistant, but I'm not sure if we did with the tech preview turned on. They're asking what's the possibilities using the Autodesk Assistant and making changes to Civil 3D drawing and objects within based on natural language requests. I'm just going to say this right up front. What I don't like about the AI assistant is it makes it super easy for somebody to start changing the standards of your drawing just by speaking. And because it will change colorization, it'll change plot styles for you. It does all kinds of weird things, and it scares me.
Yeah. Um, so one thing, I haven't played around with it in a while. Um, the tech preview one, I don't even know. I think it is.
And I will also say that
There we
there
go.
was a Civil 3D update today, which probably improved on that slightly. I know the latest point releases of all the Revit products improved, or in the 27 Revit product improved on the Autodesk Assistant.
Oh, very nice.
Good. We should go. I should go download the update.
You
So,
mean you didn't download it when it came out 4 hours ago? How dare you, Ryan?
so my understanding, and like I said, I haven't tested this a whole lot, is that the Autodesk Assistant can't change objects in the drawing, right? So if you have a line in the drawing and you come in here and say, "Hey, move all lines 3 feet that direction," it wouldn't be able to do that. One thing that I did use it for was trying to find styles. So let's see. Let me just create a new drawing here. Let me create from our company template just because I'm more familiar with that template. Actually, no, this will be fine. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna come in here to a point label style, and I'm gonna change the precision of this label way out. And then I can ask the Autodesk Assistant, find all label styles with text components with a precision greater than 0.001. So I've tried something like this before and it did work. But let's see if it does it this time. I love that it's telling me what it's doing and I'm like, I don't care, just do it.
Revit, it tells us what it's doing, and then it comes back and says, sorry, I'm unable to accomplish that task. It's like, cool, I sat here for 30 minutes waiting for you to process it to tell me you can't do anything.
Oh, it's terribly funny.
Yep, here we go. High precision styles, elevation only, which is the one I changed. All right. Set to this really big number. There we go. Looks like there's some bearings and distance with a precision of 6. Well, that's nice. So it gives it high precision, a medium to high precision, a medium precision, standard precision. Yeah. So it was able to do it, which I think is pretty damn cool. So I think things like this would be really helpful. Being able to query the drawing, find information out of the drawing, those types of things. Um, let's see, this length is 87. all polylines are longer than 90 units. See if it does with that. There you go. Yeah, so it's selected and zoomed to it. Can we make all polylines exactly 100 units long? And I think this is probably where it's going to fail.
Which is probably a good thing.
I totally agree.
Uh-huh. Yeah. There it is. Yeah.
I mean, I've been playing with this,
I
obviously.
cannot automatically modify the polyline lengths to be exactly units because length is read-only. It's calculated. Vertices are not writable, so it's not able to edit the geometry in the file. But we can find out information on it. Change polylines that are shorter than 90 units to red. See if it'll do that.
And then you'll immediately be getting a call from HR again.
Uh-huh. Yeah. This is what I saw in the demo, and it turned it red, and I was like, oh. I can't remember if it was an override or the change. No, it wouldn't have changed the layer. It would have done the override on it.
I heard somebody similar things in some AutoCAD demo as well. So you could just say, hey, change everything back to by layer. And in case somebody overrid it, I'm like, you could do Control A and do that in the properties.
Or you can use the set by lay command.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of times where people are trying to come up with reasons to use the eye that it's like, you do realize that there's a 3-click answer to this, right? Natively.
Yeah, you could easily go.
And that's one of my fears about it as well, is people will use it as a crutch and not learn how the program works.
Is it not going to allow it to do it, huh?
No, it's not letting you do it. Color property is not writable.
Very nice. Gives me a little ray of hope.
It did select it, did zoom it to me. So we could say select all polylines that are shorter than 90 feet, and then I could go change the properties of them.
Yep, absolutely.
Which is great. I think that's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So
Hmm.
hopefully that gives some folks something to think about at least.
So Robert had a question, and I looked into this, and I can't find a way to do it, but they're asking, is there a way to get the layer a feature line is created on to use a feature line name instead of the survey site? It says alignments can do this, but FL seems to be missing this option.
That's a good question. So if we could do it, it would be under the drawing settings. No.
It'd be under the
It'd be the layer, right?
Yeah. So if you go to the
So
layer,
feature line, do a prefix, or we'll do a suffix of dash asterisk.
and as long
And
as
then
your
go create a
style's
feature
set
line.
to 0, that should work though, right?
Create feature line. And we'll give it a name. Call it Bob. It's on the layer. Site 1. So it doesn't use the feature line name. It uses the site name. Which is what Robert put in the question.
And I went into the creation tab under the settings, grading, create feature line, where you can define, and I didn't see any options there either.
Yeah, the layers aren't under the feature settings.
Yeah.
I don't think. So unfortunately, I don't think there's a way to do that out of the box, Robert. Um,
It's a good wish list.
yeah.
Just like when you right click on a feature line and you say add feature line to surface. Can we have one that says remove feature line from surface?
That would be nice. That would be really nice.
Yep. As soon as I find out where that's coming from and we get it in play, I'll bring it to y'all
I
because,
appreciate that.
oh yeah, it's a little quality of life things. All right. Let's see. We got another question here. Um, this is interesting. Do you happen to know a way to project a surface profile from a different alignment without creating both profile views in the same drawing and selecting the profile, then the profile view and receive the project, Yeah. Ideally, it'd be great to be able to create these data shortcuts of each alignments and profiles and just project them into the desired profile view.
And
I,
FYI, Beverly typed later that she left. So if you wanted to skip this question and come back to it or
oh, okay.
answer it for everybody else.
I don't know
Did
of a way to
she?
do it.
Okay, so the question is, so it was surface profile specifically, right? Project a surface profile from a different alignment without creating both profile views in the same drawing. So if the profile or if the alignments are parallel to each other, you could just sample the surface at an offset, right? So let me open up a drawing here real quick. Let's see, let's go.
And as you're opening that, Nathan had, I think, posted on your guys' comments earlier, if you remove a feature line from a surface, delete the feature line, then type oops.
Well, I was typing in a response because we had this specific situation happen when we were using feature lines as targetings for our corridors as well. That got added to the surface. So if you delete it, all the targeting goes away, and boy, you're left with having to weed through that uh, web uh, of what do you want to call it, corridoralness or whatever you call it, to find out where that targeting went again. So
Right. So, so as I was saying before, if the alignments are parallel to each other, so let's assume this polyline was an alignment, and I wanted the surface profile along this alignment to be on this profile, right? So let's just see what the distance there is. So it's 20 feet, right? So I want to sample the surface 20 feet to the left of this particular alignment, right? So when I go to profile, not profile view, profile, create surface profile, right? As I'm sampling it, so I'm going to do the proposed road, I can toggle on the option to sample offsets, and I can say, hey, I want to go left 20 feet. So negative is left, positive is right. Left and right is standing at station one, looking at station two. You then have left and right. All right. So that's how you could do it if they were parallel with each other. No need to even create that other profile. If they're not parallel to each other, uh, I'm not sure how to do that. I don't know if there's a way to do that.
yeah, I don't can't think of any there is. But I do want to give a shout out to Nathan for knowing about the oops command.
Right?
Yeah, a lot of people don't know it.
I was just talking with somebody about the oops command today at work. I was helping somebody with something. And like he had mentioned the burst command. I was like, yeah, that's a express tool. Do you know about the oops command? He's like, what?
Mm,
So yeah, there's a lot of really good express tools.
mm.
So unfortunately, Beverly, if you watch this later, I don't think there's a way to do that, but maybe you just have parallel alignments and you can do the sample of the offset. All right. What else we got, Brian?
We got one. Let me see. If the questions slow down, I'd love to know your thoughts on a website, but we'll have to, I guess, dive into that one. Been bringing I guess we'll have to if you want to look into that one, but there is a question after that about subassemblies and the subassembly composer and how do we handle distribution? Well, I've got my own smart remark
Yeah.
distribution, but I don't really. I,
How do
I'll
we
be honest.
handle distribution?
Yeah. Uh, Tool palette.
Yeah, you could do a tool palette. The PKT file would need to be somewhere that everybody has access to it.
Hmm.
Put it on a tool palette, export out the tool palette, and have them import the tool palette onto their systems. That should work.
I mean, that's how we handle it,
Yeah.
but it's not a. It's we don't use it as much as I think maybe other corporations would. So I can't actually speak too intelligently about that.
Yeah. In my experience with the custom subassemblies from Subassembly Composer here at GEI, it's very specific to a piece of a project. It's like
Hmm.
Joe is doing this embankment that has these weird requirements. So we go create that subassembly for Joe. He uses it on that embankment and it's never used ever again. Right? That's my experience with Subassembly Composer, at least here at GEI. Now, if I was still working at an engineering firm that did just a ton of work for, say, for example, the city of whatever, and the city of whatever had this unique subassembly or this neat, unique road cross section that we modeled using Subassembly Composer, and then I would want all of the engineers in the company to use it because they would be able to benefit from it because it's a very standard custom subassembly for the region that they're in. And then in that case, I think a custom subassembly or a custom tool palette would really come into play for that.
You said something kind of funny. You said standard custom.
Yeah.
Doesn't one take precedent? Yeah, it can't be. Yeah. Anyways, I got a headache now.
Well, I work with somebody up in the UP, and I
Uh,
love it because I'll be talking with him, and inevitably he'll say, "Yeah, no, 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 yeah, yeah, no."
which is it? Which is
Right?
it?
I like the guy. He's a great guy. So if you're listening to this later, man, you're awesome. I just think it's funny you say, "Yeah, no, no, yeah." Okay. What
So,
else
and
do we got?
there was another question other than checking out that individual's website. Um, to, have we toyed with an MCP connection, connecting an LLM like
This came in when you guys were doing the Autodesk Assistant one. So he's talking about in with the Autodesk Assistant, you can now link it to your own MCPs.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't
I
know.
have not.
Yep.
I am I toy around with the LLMs, but I haven't gotten into figuring out how they work and how to use other ones alongside the other programs. So,
Yeah, and the fact I didn't even know what the three-letter acronyms meant, that's my answer. I guess we're out of questions.
yeah. Yeah, so if anybody else has any questions, great time to ask them.
Sean popped up just in time.
Oh, awesome.
On this drawing, can you show how you would go about grading the site for a parking lot and the road? Do you set feature lines for every parking stall?
For every parking stall? Oh God, no.
Probably just the ADA ones to make sure that they've all got the maximum 1.5%. But yeah,
No, so if I were to model this, the way I like to do parking lots, and this is kind of a general grading type of a thing. A lot of times what I will do is I will create like an underlying surface, like the
mhm,
general slope of the surface, right?
yep.
So in essence, I want the surface to, you know,
Yeah,
go
blow that
this
way.
direction. There, that way. Oh, I messed it up.
Oh, so close.
Anyways.
Man, what amazing feature did you just use to draw that arrow?
Oh, feature line extensions. Oh my God, Brian, have you tried those out? For the new feature line additions?
No.
Oh, draw a feature line and select one of the grips. You now get more options to extend, which means you can sorry, I'm not Sean, I'm not detracting, but look at that. You hit the extend button, and what it'll do is it'll add a new PI after this one. That is
Nice.
so helpful. And then you can turn that into a curve. You can extend things beyond. It's got a lot of new functionality. This was in 2026, by the way.
There you go. And it's perfectly tangent too, because I eyeballed it.
Uh-huh. Oh yeah, you did great. Put you down for your architectural license. Sorry. That's
Okay,
silly.
No worries.
that was the best comment, Tomasi.
Sorry, Brian.
Oh no,
That was kind of my point.
I complain more than anybody about non-tangent curves in architectural models.
Gosh.
Right. So I would create like an underlying surface of the general elevation and the direction I want the water to flow. And then I would create feature lines for like the curb and gutter. Right. Now, and this would most likely be like the edge of asphalt, because that's what the surface represents. It represents the edge. Maybe it's your flow line. I don't know. It's something, right? And then you can create feature lines for those. Now, how do you create the feature line for the, so if I was doing edge of asphalt, how do I create the feature line for the flow line and the face of curb and the back of curb? I use corridors, right? So you would create a feature line that represents something on the curb and gutter, or let's say, for example, this island.
Mhm.
You can now use a feature line as a baseline for a corridor. And so I would create a corridor that runs along here.
Or you
And
could do a stepped offset too.
you
But
could do a stepped offset.
yeah.
Yeah, you absolutely could do that. But the reason I like doing it with a corridor is because a lot of times the elevations in here don't work, right? You end up with a low point right there at the corner. And I don't want that. I want the water to continue to flow around.
Mhm.
So once I get this as a corridor, I just, can edit that feature line, and then all of the rest of the curb and gutter edit along with it. And then I create a surface from the corridor with all these baselines in it. And then if I need to, I add additional break lines in the middle. So, like for example, in this drawing, there's an inlet right here in the middle of the parking lot. So maybe I would draw some feature lines or place a spot elevation or some sort of a edit some data to the surface to put this is a low point so that and then, maybe I put a break line through here and make this more of a high point, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, whatever.
Yep.
So that's kind of the way I approach it. It's a good first run. And then once you get those elevations, then you can go in and pinpoint what, get into that detailed design and say, okay, this one, it was originally set to this elevation. That doesn't work. So let me change it to be the elevation that I need.
Now, Adam kind of piped in and he said, do not add points to the surface. Now, while I agree with that, I got curious as to why. Because, I mean, at least you're adding an entity to it. You're not falsely saying, go to my points, go to my surface editor and then add an arbitrary point somewhere that I can't find after.
I think that's what Adam is referring to.
Oh, okay, good. Because I totally agree with that. We teach that all the time. Do not make surface edits.
Yeah.
Add real objects. Add feature lines, break lines. Heck, what I would do, Brian, what you were talking about, is I would actually draw a feature line around the top of my catch basin and add that as
Yeah.
to my surface. Yeah.
Yeah. Something. Put something in there and add it to your
Yeah, put
surface.
something in, because
Yeah.
otherwise you're not going to be able to find it. Well, I mean, sort of.
Oh, I hate surface edits. So what I like to tell people about surface edits is, so the surface edits, for those of you that may not be aware, that we're referring to are from move point and up. So these, what, 1, 2, 3, 4, these 7 edits here. You will never, ever see me using these.
Yep.
All right. I despise them with a passion. Right. And the reason is because you have no record of what you're doing. It just shows up in the surface edit. It says added a point at this coordinate. And that's it.
Yeah.
I get no feedback from that.
Yeah, even if
Yeah.
you do a zoom to and you've deleted a point, you don't know what you're looking at.
Yeah.
So yeah,
So it's
you'll
annoying.
shoot yourself in your foot.
And then
And
if you decide later that, ooh, I don't want that point in there anymore, I need to go on and delete the edit that deleted it or added it or whatever. And then which one was it? Because my edit list is now 5,000 edits long and it's just, I despise it. Now, I will say, if you're doing this for a survey surface, a surface that will never change, I will say these edits are okay. I still wouldn't do them,
yeah, no, but you're
but
right.
they're okay because the surface is never going to change, right?
Well,
If you're doing this for a design surface, avoid them like the plague. You will be kicking yourself if you do these for your design surface. But
and
I'm just swapping edges. I don't care. Draw a feature line in and add it to the surface as a break line.
well, Brian, something else I'd like to point out is when you swap an edge and then
Mhm.
you decided it wasn't right and you swap it back, that's still two
That's two
commands
edits.
that it will always go through every
Yep.
single time. And that just slows your machine down, gives the possibility of corruption.
Yep.
So yeah, Brian, yeah, the only difference between you and I is you've got a goatee and I don't.
Yeah, I despise those surface edits.
Yeah,
I opened up a surface one time and it literally had thousands of surface edits in it.
because we've been
They
burnt.
did not use break lines.
Yeah.
They just swapped edges. It was horrible. So, anyways, that's
So
my take on that.
so Sean, to wrap it up, no, we don't do every single parking stall. We will do the parking stalls that are necessary, but like Brian was showing, that's a really class A number one way of doing your grading. Just get a feel for where you want your water to go. Put a subsurface down of what you want to, and then you can project those flow lines to that surface at the PI points. I wouldn't add any additional, but then you could add the corridor to it and just wrap it around, and it's going to
Mhm.
come out really, really well. You'll be about 85% there when you follow that method.
Yeah. Really quick, really easy, and it gets you
Mhm.
really, really close.
Oh, quick elevation editor. Ooh, I love quick.
Oh,
And
that's my favorite.
I don't know about grading optimizer, but I love the quick elevation editor. I use that one. I use that one more than any other tool.
Let's see, where did I put that drawing? I put it
I know some people
under.
love to use the elevation editor in tabular form, which is fantastic, but you definitely have to have what, a fourth screen by that time, because you got so much stuff all over the place. I think I made a bad joke whenever Civil 3D first came out in 2008. I said it had more wizards than a Harry Potter movie, and I'm still
I,
standing by that.
you told me that, and I still use that line.
It's terrible.
Let's see. I'm just gonna leave the line weights on. Okay, so I've got this drawing here. I've got a surface in here. I've got feature lines that were added to the surface as break lines. And yeah, let me turn the
So we're
line
not
weights
grading now.
off.
No? Look at you go.
Line weight,
Is it
turn
sad
those
that I
off.
understand this?
All right. And so this particular feature line right now, and so this label is a feature line label. You could also label the surface. Either one's fine. When I've done this in the past, let me. All right, so I've got two options here for this. I've got one that labels the feature lines and one that labels the surface. Same concept. All right, so this is just a slope label that goes from here to here, whereas this is a feature line label. There's advantages and disadvantages. The feature line labels are really, really quick to add in. But if I were to add, right, so this feature line just goes from here to here. But if I were to add, say, for example, an elevation point. Oops, let's try that again. You can see what happened is the label that was up here shifted to over here. So it doesn't add additional labels in. It just removes those labels.
Oh, that's a bug. Especially if you hit it with multiple, right? I know. Okay, yeah, yeah. I know who I'm going to be talking to later.
Yeah, I was teaching this grading class at AU, and Dan Philbrook came up to me, and this was back in, gosh, 2008. And he
Hmm.
said, well, why didn't you just use the feature line labels? And I said, that's why.
Hmm.
2008 is when I told him that.
So it's
Anyways,
only been
that's beside the
15
point.
years. Yeah, still haven't fixed it in 15 years.
All right.
Going on 20, actually. 2008, 18.
Right. But anyways, a quick elevation edit. Like Brian said, I absolutely love it. So this particular grade on this feature line needs to be 2% sloping down towards the road over here. All right, so I'm going to select the feature line and I'm going to use a quick elevation editor. This thing is, I just love it. All right. So as you mouse over the vertices of the feature line, you can see it showing me the elevation of the vertex. If I want to, I could click and type in a new elevation. So I want this one to be 5170. So I can click, type 5170, hit enter, and everything changes, right? The surface labels change. So the surface rebuilds while I'm in the command with the quick elevation edit. Most of the feature line edit commands, you have to exit the command before the surface will rebuild, but not the quick elevation edit. But really, I want this one to be 2% going up. So I'm going to, if you notice, when I'm near the midpoint, it's showing me the grade and which direction it's going. So if I were to click when the arrow is pointed this way, in essence, I'm editing this elevation here, which is not what I want to edit. I need to keep the elevation of the street the same. I wanted to edit the elevation back here towards the back of the lot. So I make sure that the arrow is pointing at the vertex I want to change. I left click and then I type in my elevation, 2, or I'm sorry, my grade, 2. And it's now 2%. I want to continue that up to the next one. Go up there,
Yeah.
get the arrow pointing in the right direction, click, 2, enter, and there we go.
Now, just to be clear for
That's
everybody,
2.
his surface is on rebuild automatic.
It is.
Yeah.
And so you can see how quickly we can make these changes. And it's just one of my favorite tools ever. I love
Yeah.
the quick elevation.
Yep. That and reference. Elevation from reference point.
Mm-hmm.
Except if you've got an XREF, why does it always grab the 0 elevation? Why? I can't.
I don't know.
Anybody else frustrated on that one?
All right. So I think that pretty much does it.
Well, Sean, the left click will actually allow you to enter the command to put in the slope. So you'll click and then you'll type in the slope direction of what you want it to be.
Right. And depends upon where that little green triangle is.
Yes.
So if the little green triangle is in the middle of the line, when I left click, I'm editing the slope. When the green triangle is at a vertex and it's more of that isosceles, or not, I'm sorry, the equilateral triangle, when I left click, it'll change the elevation.
Yep.
And when you're doing the slope, remember the direction the arrow is pointing, it's pointing at the vertex that will change.
So it's holding the one on the other side.
Right. So if I were to point the arrow this direction, left click, and type in 2, it's now going up at 2% from back here. All right. And this is a great thing because, oh no, I didn't want to do that. Don't escape out of the command and undo, because that will undo to the beginning of the quick elevation edit command.
Yeah.
Not the last thing you did in it. Don't undo. Instead, just make it right. So if I mouse over that vertex, I left click and it's asking me what the elevation needs to be. I don't know what the elevation, it just needs to be the elevation of the road surface. Well, down here at my command line, I can choose surface. I can select the surface, say, hey, I want this surface here. And then it puts that elevation at the command line for me. And then I just hit enter to accept that elevation. I love the grading tools in Civil 3D.
Oh, yeah.
They're so awesome.
Yeah. I can't tell you how many times we've actually run a corridor around the outside. And so that's its own surface. So that way, if we needed to update, we can update that and then just easily go through with the elevation editor and select surface and just pop it all back to it. It's really nice.
Yeah.
Which
is essentially what was done here.
Yep. It's my #1 tool.
All right. Well, that puts us at the hour. So thank you everybody for showing up. I will be putting this up on my YouTube channel. Thanks for all the questions. And maybe we can get to that website some other time.
And then Brian, maybe next time when we start, we can talk about Gradient Optimizer.
Okay.
For Robert, I haven't really used it, so I can't say too much about it.
Yeah, I haven't used it a whole lot either.
So Tomasi, when you say we, you're saying Haley, study up on it for next month?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The third person we. This is my brother Daryl, my other brother Daryl.
It's like in my family, I am we, and my wife is somebody. You know, like we need to mow the grass, we need to fix the light fixture. Somebody had to go shopping.
Yes, somebody.
So,
I like
all
it.
right, and on that note, we'll go ahead and call it a day. Thank you, everybody. Come back again next month. Tell your friends, tell your family, bring lots of questions, and we'll see you then. Take care.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks all. Bye.